I'm actually probably going to be fairly slow and boring, particularly by contrast to these, you get a lawyer up here who starts talking about a lawsuit and he gets all excited. But I want to be slightly boring because I want you all to reflect on where we are, what our mission is, and what our power is. You saw, and I have to say that I agree that if we could find a way to, part of what I'd like to see happen now is to have an assignment, if you will, for the organization to go back to Camp Liberty and find every English-speaking person and have each one of them talk about their background. These are living human witnesses to the passion for freedom and the risk they are taking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if that were put together right, you'd suddenly have people looking up going, there's something happening here I don't understand, and I need to know more about it. So they understand and cannot hide from the reality that the United States today is behaving in a shameful manner, having failed to keep its word. I will tell all of you, Patrick, once again, reminded me of the difference in our age. When his dad was writing the bill to end apartheid in South Africa on the Senate side, I was one of 4 House Republicans who broke with President Reagan on the House side, because I was already in Congress. This is the difference in our age. He's talking about the stuff he watched as a teenager that I was doing. But this is the lesson I want to give all of you. It was not an easy thing for a Republican to take on Ronald Reagan at the peak of his popularity. We actually, I think, started this fight the year that he carried 49 states. And we thought about the idea that we fundamentally disagreed with the senior leadership in the Defense Department, the State Department, and the White House, because we thought they were wrong in the way they were trying to manage South Africa. And we didn't get here lightly, and it wasn't easy, because all of our partisan instincts, frankly, were to stay with the president. But we finally decided that one of the great geniuses of the American system is that we swear independent oaths of loyalty to the Constitution. We don't swear loyalty to the president. We swear loyalty to the United States. And that we are elected to render independent judgment. And I say this because there is, I think, a huge fight coming. And you represent one of the most important elements of this fight. You see, the problem has been there's a tremendous overfocus on the nuclear program. The nuclear program's not the problem. The dictatorship is the problem. Now, you're really important because you enable us to put a lie to the White House and the State Department's biggest defense. You see, their defense is, we're a tired country. We've been in Iraq too long, we've been in Afghanistan too long, we've had young men and women killed and wounded too long. If you say to the American people, do you believe enough in freedom in Iran to have a land war and send American troops? They're going to say no. But if you say to the American people, there is a powerful worldwide movement of Iranians who desperately believe in freedom. And with a little help and a little encouragement and a little moral support, they will do the job. Now you just gave them a totally different equation, because now you take away the biggest argument the State Department and the White House have, which is an argument of cowardice. You can't ask us to stand up to the mullahs. After all, something bad could happen. Well, I'm saying just the opposite. If we stand up against the mullahs, something really good's going to happen. They're going to disappear. Right. Now, you should take great comfort from what's been happening this week in Ukraine. Because we're once again being reminded that people can take on power and power can lose. It's a very important message. Now, I think this summer, if we're prepared, is going to be one of the great educational moments in American-Iranian relationships. After the administration's done dancing, after the State Department's done flying into Geneva at the last minute, after the last great effort to schmooze and talk and posture, there will be a document. It will be pathetic. There will either be no agreement or it will be an agreement that is so bad that even the New York Times will not be able to support it. Now, I know that's going out on a limb. But the reason I believe that's true is that, just this Monday, Khamenei said, there will be no agreement. He said, and then he went on to say, because he's a generous man, I don't mind if they keep talking. But his opening line is, there will be no agreement. Now, we happened to have in Crossfire one night this week a State Department consultant who told me the negotiations are really going well. That Khamenei's only saying that stuff for domestic consumption. I thought, let me get this straight. He is a dictator. He's not up for re-election. He doesn't care about the polls. Why do you think he would say that for domestic consumption? These people are delusional at the State Department. They believe in a fantasy world. Now, here's why it's important. You should have the legislation already sponsored, already leaning forward in the House and Senate, so that the morning the process collapses, we can pass the tightest, toughest, strongest sanctions possible with the specific goal of replacing the regime. Let me close. I'm a relentless optimist, since I think that's the key thing America teaches us. If you looked around this room, if we could just take a survey in this room. Well, let me just ask a simple question. How many of you are on email? Raise your hand if you do email. Okay. How many of you are on Facebook? Okay. How many of you are on Twitter? How many of you Instagram? Okay, here's why I'm saying this. If you could take an inventory of every person across America that this room represents, you'd be startled how many tens of thousands of people. And if you then thought about your cousin in Indianapolis who has all the people they went to college with and the folks they can touch, you begin to build a network. I am an optimist that if you decide to put pressure on the Congress, and this is the real lesson of Ted Kennedy and Newt Gingrich and everybody else who insisted on taking on apartheid and breaking the back of segregation in South Africa. The lesson is the American system's designed to have open, healthy public fights. We want to have an open, healthy public fight. It's very simple. One, the mullahs will never agree to give up their nuclear program. Two, even if they did, they will never agree to quit supporting terrorism worldwide. Three, they will never agree to actually allow a decent, open society at home. Therefore, four, we need to have a strategy, non-military, non-violent, to so massively coerce them economically and to so actively support every element of freedom that they disappear. That can be put into a bill. You have enough contacts in this room to contact enough House members and enough senators just through the networks you represent that we can be poised by April to begin to coercively bring pressure to bear so that the mullahs will understand this is the end of the road. And I think you have that opportunity, and my closing thought's very simple. Every person you saw on television just now, every person who spoke to you from Camp Liberty is risking their life for freedom every day. All we're asking you to do is put a little time and a little effort in an amazing level of safety so that you can be their supporters and you can make their risk and their sacrifice pay off by getting the United States government to do what it should already be doing. Thank you very, very much.